My next guest just received his briefing, Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut and member of the Foreign Relations Committee. Thank you for your patience. We had that other breaking news going on, but you did just get a chance to hear directly from the administration about the situation in Venezuela. Were your questions answered, Senator?
Well, they did give a decent amount of detail, both on the operation itself, and I can't share those details, but they also gave details about what the plan is moving forward, and it's a stunningly terrible plan. What the administration is talking about doing is taking Venezuela's oil at gunpoint, selling it on the open market, and then using that money as leverage to micromanage the country of Venezuela. Venezuela is an enormous, very complicated, very dangerous country. And the Trump administration is literally planning to run the country from the White House. So that means on a lot of days, Donald Trump is going to be spending more time running Venezuela than running the United States. And by the way, we've learned this lesson before. You cannot impose a political reality on a foreign country that you don't understand at gunpoint, using the U.S. military as your leverage. That's what went wrong in Afghanistan and Iraq. That's what will go wrong in aside Venezuela. So, I give a lot of credit to our warriors, our soldiers. They did their job, but the plan moving forward looks like a disastrous repeat in some ways of the same kind of military debacles overseas that Donald Trump told everybody he was never going to repeat.
Can you be more specific about what exactly they said? Did they say, we are going to be running the country out of the White House? Did they say, we are going to be taking oil at gunpoint? I'm trying to get a sense of exactly what the plan is that they outlined, because it sounds dramatic, to say the least.
Well, they said both of those things. So they are going to take the oil at gunpoint. They are going to keep a naval blockade, that is an act of war, around Venezuela. And they are going to take all of Venezuela's oil indefinitely. And if Venezuela does not agree to that, there will be military consequences. They are then going to use that money to micromanage the Venezuelan government. It sounds as if the United States of America, the White House, will decide who gets paid and who doesn't get paid inside Venezuela. So we are back in the business of nation building. And it's exactly what the American people don't want. Americans' healthcare premiums are going up by 100%. Costs are going through the roof. And the White House is basically saying, our main focus right now is on running Venezuela, not solving your problems here at home.
We know that 7 U.S. soldiers were injured in the Venezuela mission. Did you learn anything about the circumstances surrounding their injuries or their conditions right now?
We did. And I think I want to be a little careful because I may be getting into classified information. I do think we know that we expect all of our service members who were injured to survive. I don't know what the publicly reported number of Venezuelan deaths are, but it was a strikingly high number. Some of that is probably in the classified realm, but I think the bottom line is that our military members who, executed a very dangerous mission incredibly ably. I mean, we should just give credit where credit is due. They all seem to be on the mend.
It's no secret also that Donald Trump wants Greenland. And of late, we've heard some threatening language from officials like Stephen Miller about taking the island by force. Your colleague, Senator Ruben Gallego, introduced a resolution to stop that from happening. Was there talk about Greenland during the briefing today?
There was talk about Greenland. Obviously, there were questions posed to the administration to make sure that they aren't engaged in planning for Greenland after their backpats that they've been giving each other on Venezuela. Again, some of this is in that classified realm, but I just think you have to listen to what they say publicly. I mean, Donald Trump has said publicly, Stephen Miller has said publicly that they want Greenland, and they are not willing to rule out U.S. force. That would be a disaster of epic proportions, because that would put the United States at war with Europe. Just a gift to China, who would love for the United States and Europe to be in conflict with each other, and would essentially put the United States government in the full-time business of managing Venezuela and managing Greenland. No time spent on actual Americans' problems.
So we heard from Marco Rubio as he was coming out of these briefings, and he said that the plan always was to buy it, that when the president and others talk about going into Greenland militarily, it's simply that every president in history reserves the right, if they feel there's a threat to national security, to use the military. When you hear what seems to be two conflicting statements, how do you interpret it?
Well, he's got a boss that wants Greenland no matter what and has been willing to, put all the cards on the table. So I understand Marco Rubio may not want an invasion of Greenland, but it doesn't really matter if his boss wants it. And I just think you have to understand how unhinged our president is right now. Donald Trump really only thinks of the world in terms of real estate. He doesn't care about your problems. He doesn't care about your health insurance going up, your kids being unable to afford lunch or food. All he cares about is real estate. And he's got his real estate in the Venezuelan oil fields. He's got his ballroom that he's building next door to his house. And he wants a big tract of land up in the northern part of the hemisphere. So I just think Rubio needs to understand who he took a job working for, a man who is pretty off his rocker when it comes to the national security interests of the United States. Greenland is not necessary at all to protect America's national security interests. It would just put us at war with our most important ally in the world, that's Europe. That's terrible for U.S. national security.
And if I can ask you finally, Senator, about the situation that is unfolding even as we speak in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and the report that comes from the governor that an ICE-related shooting occurred this morning. We're still working, as the governor says he is, to gather more information about it. But I'd like to ask you more broadly about something that we haven't talked a lot about lately because there's been so much going on in the world besides this, but that is the ongoing immigration crackdown in cities that have told the administration they don't have a problem, they are not welcome there. But we know over the course of several days, the situation escalated to the point where, according to the governor, there was a shooting today. What questions do you have, Senator, about ongoing ICE operations, and is there anything Congress can do about it?
So I heard you read Senator Smith's statement out loud. I trust her. She knows better than anybody what's happening in her state. And so I would certainly echo her call for ICE to leave Minnesota so as to calm tensions. What we also know is that ICE and CBP are in the middle of this furious hiring barrage, and they are not training people to their normal standards. They are putting people out onto the streets without a real understanding of how to avoid confrontation. We're going to have an ability to say something about this because this month we have to pass a budget for the Department of Homeland Security. I'm actually the top Democrat on this subcommittee that oversees the budget for the Department of Homeland Security. I don't believe that Democrats should be putting their votes behind a expansion of this assault on our cities, an expansion of this illegality, and we should absolutely be saying if you want our votes at all to fund the ISIS operations, there's got to be constraints to make sure that what they're doing in these cities is legal and safe. For instance, CBP is not trained to be roaming our cities looking for people who are undocumented. CBP should be at the border. And one of the things we could do in that budget is just make that 100% clear. When we fund CBP, we are funding them to stay at the border. When we're funding ICE, we want to make sure that everybody is trained and ready to do the job. Democrats will have a lot to say on whether we are going to give a blank check to this kind of lawlessness, this kind of dangerous behavior like we are seeing in Minneapolis, Chicago, and throughout the country. So stay tuned. We should have a fight and a debate about this. It matters.
Senator Chris Murphy, it is always good to have you on the program, and I thank you for your time. Appreciate it.